June 23, 1944, 11:40 p.m., Mid-Atlantic Ocean, 870 nautical miles west of Cape Verde Islands. Lieutenant Commander Tetsuya Nakamura stands in the control room of I-52, listening to sounds that shouldn't exist. His submarine is enormous, 400 feet of steel carrying 2 tons of gold, 120 tons of tin, and the hopes of a dying empire. They've just completed rendezvous with German U-530. The radar equipment is transferred. The German technicians are aboard. Everything went perfectly. But Nakamura can't shake the feeling that something is watching them. He's been a submariner for 12 years. He knows these waters. He knows what the ocean sounds like, what it feels like when you're alone in the deep. And tonight, something feels wrong. His sonar operator, Petty Officer Hiroshi Tanaka, turns from his console. His face is pale. "Sir, I'm hearing something strange. Multiple contacts. They're not ships. They're floating on the surface, transmitting." Nakamura crosses to the sonar station. Through his headphones, he hears it. Not the usual ocean sounds, whale song, distant ship propellers, wave noise. This is different, artificial, multiple sources, scattered across the ocean surface, each one broadcasting. What are they? "I don't know, sir. I've never heard anything like this." Neither has Nakamura. In 12 years of submarine operations, through training exercises, combat patrols, reconnaissance missions, he's never encountered technology like this. Above them, invisible in the darkness, Lieutenant Commander Jesse D. Taylor's Avenger torpedo bomber circles at 8,000 feet. His radar screen shows a clear contact, I-52, running on the surface, completely unaware she's been tracked for the past 40 minutes. Taylor has already dropped 5 Sonar Buoys in a pentagonal pattern around the submarine's projected course: purple, orange, blue, red, yellow. Each one floats on the surface, listening to everything happening beneath the waves, transmitting to his aircraft in real time. The Americans call them Sonar Buoys. The Japanese don't have a word for them yet, because Japanese submarines don't know they exist. Nakamura is about to learn, in the most horrifying way possible, that the ocean he's spent his entire career mastering has become enemy territory. 3 hours later, I-52 and her 94-man crew will rest on the ocean floor 17,000 feet down. Nakamura will die, never fully understanding what killed him. But the story of how Japanese submariners, like Nakamura, came to realize the ocean was no longer theirs, that's a story about more than technology. It's about the moment warriors who believed in their skill, their training, their magnificent vessels, discovered that none of it mattered against an enemy who could see the invisible and hear the silent. This is the story of that realization, and the man who survived to tell it. December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor, submarine base. Lieutenant Tetsuya Nakamura, 29 years old, stands on the deck of I-26 watching smoke rise from Battleship Row. He's been a submariner for 7 years. Today, he's witnessing the moment Japan becomes a Pacific power. His submarine participated in the reconnaissance before the attack. Japanese submarines are positioned around Oahu, ready to intercept any American ships that escape. They're magnificent vessels, fast, powerful, with longer range than anything America possesses. Nakamura's commander, Captain Minoru Yokota, stands beside him. "The Americans will surrender within 6 months. We've destroyed their fleet. The Pacific belongs to Japan now." Nakamura believes him. Why wouldn't he? They've just accomplished the impossible. American battleships burn in the harbor, American aircraft carriers escaped, but they'll be hunted down. Japanese submarines will patrol these waters, controlling the ocean from Hawaii to the Philippines. "Sir," Nakamura says, "we have the finest submarine force in the world. Better boats, better training, better tactics. The Americans can't match us." Yokota nods. "We control the ocean now. That's the lesson they'll learn." Nakamura doesn't know it yet, but this moment, standing on the deck of I-26, watching Pearl Harbor burn, believing Japan controls the Pacific, this is the last moment of innocence. The last moment before reality begins its slow, crushing revelation. 3 years later, everything he believes will be proven wrong. April 1943, Philippine Sea, I-26 on patrol. Nakamura is now executive officer, promoted after 2 years of successful operations. I-26 has sunk 3 Allied merchant ships, damaged 2 others. They're considered one of the most effective submarines in the fleet. But something has changed. Nakamura notices it during their last patrol. They surfaced at night to charge batteries, standard procedure, safe procedure. The ocean was empty. Radar showed nothing. Then, from nowhere, aircraft. American patrol planes appeared within minutes, forcing I-26 to crash dive. They barely escaped the depth charges. "How did they find us?" Nakamura asks Captain Yokota. "The radar showed nothing. We were invisible." "They got lucky," Yokota replies, but his voice carries doubt. The next patrol, it happens again. I-26 surfaces. Within 20 minutes, American aircraft appear. This time, the depth charges are closer. Hull plates buckle. Light bulbs shatter. Men scream as the submarine dives deeper than she's designed to go. They survive. Barely. "That's not luck," Nakamura says. "They're finding us somehow, some technology we don't understand." Yokota doesn't answer, because if Nakamura is right, if Americans possess technology that can track submarines invisible to radar, then every assumption about Japanese submarine superiority is wrong. 2 months later, Yokota is killed when I-26 is sunk by American destroyers. Nakamura survives because he was ashore, receiving his promotion. He's now commander of I-52, one of Japan's largest cargo submarines. June 1944. I-52 departs Kure, Japan. Nakamura's mission is critical: deliver 2 tons of gold, tin, rubber, and tungsten to German-occupied France. Receive German radar technology, jet engine designs, and technical experts. The cargo represents Japan's last hope for technological parity with the Allies. His crew is excellent. 94 men, all volunteers, all experienced. His submarine is magnificent, 368 feet long, range of 21,000 nautical miles. She can circumnavigate the globe without refueling. But Nakamura can't shake his unease. The ocean has changed. American patrol coverage has intensified. Japanese submarines are disappearing, not occasionally, systematically. I-24, I-29, I-32, I-34, I-35, I-37, all lost in the past year. All experienced commanders, all disappeared without explanation. His sonar operator, Petty Officer Tanaka, shares his concern. "Sir, I've been hearing strange things on patrol, sounds that don't match anything in our recognition books. Whatever the Americans are using, it's not in our intelligence reports." "What kind of sounds?" "High-frequency pulses, active sonar, but different from ours. And sometimes, I hear transmissions from objects that sound like they're floating on the surface, not ships, something else." Nakamura files this information away. Tanaka is his best sonar operator. If he's hearing something unusual, it's real. They cross the Pacific without incident. Round Cape Horn, enter the Atlantic, 2 months of careful navigation, constant vigilance, zero contact with Allied forces. They're succeeding. Maybe Japanese submarine skill still matters. June 23, 1944, rendezvous with U-530. The German U-boat surfaces at the coordinates. The transfer proceeds smoothly. Radar equipment, technical manuals. 2 German naval engineers who'll return to Japan aboard I-52. Nakamura speaks with U-530's commander, Oberleutnant Kurt Lange, through an interpreter. "How are conditions in the Atlantic?" Nakamura asks. Lange's expression darkens. "Terrible. The Americans have new weapons, aircraft that hunt us day and night, devices that track our submarines underwater. We're losing boats faster than we can build them." "What kind of devices?" "We don't fully understand them. Small objects dropped from aircraft. They float on the surface, listening to sounds beneath the water, transmitting to the aircraft above. Our submarines try to dive, but these things track us. guide weapons to our exact position. Nakamura feels cold despite the tropical night. Do you have countermeasures? Lang laughs bitterly. Countermeasures? Against technology we don't understand? We have courage, Commander. That's our countermeasure. It's not enough. U-530 submerges and disappears. I-52 prepares to continue toward France. 850 miles to go. 3 more days. Nakamura briefs his crew. We maintain maximum vigilance. Surface only at night. Minimum time exposed. The Americans have technology that can detect submarines. We don't know exactly how it works, but we assume they can find us if we're careless. His crew nods. They're professionals. They've been avoiding American patrols for 2 months. 3 more days. They can make it. June 23, 1944, 11:40 p.m. I-52 surfaces to run on diesel engines, charging batteries, making better time toward France. The ocean is empty. Their radar shows nothing. Nakamura stands in the conning tower, scanning the horizon with binoculars. Clear night, stars visible, no moon. Perfect conditions for surface running. Below, in the control room, Tanaka suddenly rips off his headphones. "Sir, multiple contacts. They're dropping things into the water around us." Nakamura scrambles down the ladder. "What kind of contacts?" "I don't know. They sound like they're mechanical, transmitting. 5 of them, surrounding us." Before Nakamura can respond, the lookout screams from above. "Aircraft! Bearing 090! Flares dropping!" The night turns into day. Parachute flares descend, illuminating I-52 like a searchlight. Nakamura sees the silhouette, American Avenger torpedo bomber, diving toward them. "Crash dive! Crash dive!" I-52's klaxon screams. Men scramble. Hatches slam shut. The submarine begins her dive. But she's enormous. 400 feet long, 5,900 tons. She dives slowly. Too slowly. The first depth charges explode before they reach 100 feet. Wham! 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 The shock waves slam into the hull. Light bulbs explode. Men are thrown against bulkheads. 200 feet, the diving officer calls. 250. More explosions. Closer this time. The lights go out. Emergency lighting kicks in, bathing everything in red. Tanaka is still at his sonar station, headphones on despite the chaos. "Sir, the objects on the surface, they're tracking us. They're listening to our engines, our propellers. They're transmitting our position." Nakamura understands in that moment. The Americans can hear them, even submerged. The things floating on the surface, whatever they are, they're listening to I-52's every movement, transmitting that information to the aircraft above. They're being hunted by something invisible, something they have no defense against. "Rig for silent running," Nakamura orders. "Shut down everything non-essential, minimal propeller revolutions." I-52 goes silent. Emergency systems only, propellers barely turning. They drift in the darkness, 300 feet below the surface, hoping the Americans will lose them. Tanaka whispers, "Sir, I still hear the transmissions. They're still tracking us." Because I-52 isn't silent. Not really. Her machinery still makes noise, water flowing through her ballast tanks, hydraulic systems. Even the crew's breathing creates sounds. And the American Sonar Buoys hear everything. Above them, Lieutenant Commander Taylor circles, monitoring his 5 Sonar Buoys. Each one gives him a bearing. Where the bearings intersect, that's where I-52 is hiding. He drops a magnetic anomaly detector buoy, confirms the submarine's position. Calls in a second Avenger with an acoustic homing torpedo. Nakamura hears the aircraft returning. "Evade! Hard right rudder! Emergency speed!" I-52 accelerates. Her propellers churn. She turns hard, trying to escape. But she's massive, turning radius enormous. Speed builds slowly. The second Avenger drops its torpedo. It's called a Fido by American crews. The Japanese don't know it exists. Tanaka hears it first. "Torpedo in the water. Sir, it's changing course. It's following our propeller sounds." An acoustic homing torpedo, it listens for propeller noise. Guides itself automatically toward the source. No human control needed. Just autonomous hunter, tracking its prey through sound alone. Nakamura has no defense against this, no tactic, no evasion procedure, because Japanese submarine training never covered weapons that hunt by sound. "Full stop," he orders desperately. "Stop propellers." Too late. The Fido impacts I-52's stern. The explosion rips through the engine room. Water floods in under massive pressure. Men scream. Bulkheads collapse. I-52 begins her final dive, not controlled, falling. 17,000 feet of ocean beneath them. Nakamura stands in the control room as water pours in. His crew looks at him, waiting for orders that can't save them. "We fought well," he says quietly. "We did everything right. But they have technology we cannot counter. The ocean is theirs now." I-52 implodes at 1,200 feet. The pressure crushes her hull like an eggshell. 94 men die instantly. Above, Taylor's sonobuoys record everything. The sounds of the submarine breaking apart. The final implosion. Silence. The recordings are filed in American naval archives. Evidence that technology has transformed submarine warfare forever. But Nakamura's story doesn't end here, because he's not aboard I-52 when she dies. 3 weeks earlier, May 1944, Kure Naval Base, Japan. This is where we need to rewind, to tell you the truth. Commander Nakamura was supposed to be aboard I-52. He commanded her, trained her crew, planned the mission, but 3 days before departure, he collapsed during pre-departure inspections. Appendicitis, emergency surgery. He's transferred to the Naval Hospital while his executive officer, Commander Uno Kamio, takes I-52 to sea. Nakamura lies in a hospital bed, frustrated and angry, while his submarine departs without him. He doesn't know he's been saved by random chance, by an infected organ that could have killed him, but instead kept him in Japan. July 15, 1944, 3 weeks after I-52's loss. Nakamura stands in Combined Fleet Headquarters, listening to the intelligence briefing. I-52 is overdue, presumed lost, cause unknown. But Nakamura knows the cause. He knows because Tanaka's reports are in his hands. Sonar recordings from I-52's last patrol, sent ahead by radio before the final mission. The strange sounds, the objects floating on the surface, the transmissions that tracked submarines underwater. "They have technology we don't understand," Nakamura tells the intelligence officers. "Devices that listen to submarines from the surface, aircraft that hunt using these devices, weapons that home on propeller sounds." The officers look skeptical. "Commander, are you suggesting the Americans have developed autonomous sonar tracking systems? That seems improbable." "Improbable?" Nakamura's voice rises. 12 submarines lost in 6 months, all vanished without explanation. When does improbable become impossible to ignore? The senior officer, Admiral Miwa, silences the room. "Commander Nakamura, you've lost your submarine and your crew. Your analysis may be colored by grief. We'll continue investigating, but we cannot change our doctrine based on speculation." Nakamura realizes in that moment that Japan will not adapt, cannot adapt. The institutional inertia is too strong. Even facing evidence of technological inferiority, the Navy will continue operating as if skill and courage can overcome superior weapons. "Sir, permission to transfer to shore duty. I want to study American anti-submarine tactics, build countermeasures." Denied. "We need experienced commanders at sea, not analyzing hypothetical technology." "Then give me I-401. Let me test new tactics. Let me prove that the Americans are hunting us with technology we haven't seen." Admiral Miwa studies him. "I-401 is our most advanced submarine, carrying aircraft. You understand this is Japan's most valuable asset. Which is why she needs a commander who understands what we're facing." 2 weeks later, Nakamura takes command of I-401, the largest submarine in the world, the technological apex of Japanese naval engineering. And he's going to prove that engineering doesn't matter against an enemy who controls the ocean through invisible technology. September 1944, I-401 on training patrol off Japan. Nakamura conducts an experiment. He surfaces I-401 at night, deliberately, in waters known to have American submarine patrols. His crew thinks he's insane. "Sir," his executive officer protests, "we're making ourselves a target." "Exactly. I want to see how fast the Americans find us. I want to understand their detection range." They surface. Nakamura times it, stopwatch in hand. 18 minutes later, radar contact. American submarine on the surface, 6 miles away. Crash dive. They escape. Barely. But Nakamura has his answer. 18 minutes. That's how long Japanese submarines can operate on the surface before American forces detect them. "How did they find us so fast?" his XO asks. "Radar," Nakamura replies. "They have radar on their submarines. Surface detection at ranges we can't match. We have to assume every time we surface, we're visible to them within minutes." He runs the experiment again. Different location, different time, different conditions. 22 minutes. American aircraft appear, again. 15 minutes. American destroyer detects them. The pattern is consistent. Japanese submarines have maybe 20 minutes of surface time before detection, sometimes less. "We're operating in an ocean where the enemy can see us and we can't see them," Nakamura tells his officers. "Every time we surface, we're visible on their radar screens. Every time we make noise, their sonar buoys track us. Every time we fire torpedoes, their aircraft home on our propeller sounds. So what do? We stop pretending we're hunters. We accept that we're prey, and we learn to survive." Over the next 3 months, Nakamura develops new tactics. Surface only in daytime. American aircraft rely on radar and sonar buoys, which work better at night. Minimize surface time to under 15 minutes. Dive deep immediately when aircraft detected. Use underwater features, thermal layers, ocean currents, to mask sounds. It's not enough. But it keeps I-401 alive when other submarines disappear. December 1944, I-401 intercepts American radio traffic. Nakamura's radio operator, Petty Officer Kenji Sato, speaks English. He monitors American frequencies, trying to learn Allied tactics. One night, he intercepts a casual conversation between American ships coordinating anti-submarine patrols. "Blue Leader, this is Green 3. We've got 5 Sonar Buoy patterns deployed in Sector 7. Coverage is complete. If anything moves, we'll hear it." "Copy, Green 3. Maintain patrol. Intel says a Japanese sub might be operating in your area." "Roger that. These new buoys are incredible. We're tracking fishing boats at 20 miles. A submarine won't get anywhere near us." Sato translates for Nakamura. The commander listens in silence. 20 miles, Nakamura says finally. "They can hear submarines from 20 miles away." "Sir, that's impossible." "It's not impossible. It's real. The Americans have saturated the ocean with listening devices, sonobuoys, underwater microphones, tracking systems we don't possess. They've turned the Pacific into a surveillance grid where nothing can hide." He thinks about I-52, about Cameo and 94 men who died because they didn't know they were being tracked by technology they couldn't see. "We're not fighting a war," Nakamura says quietly. "We're being systematically eliminated by an industrial machine we can't comprehend." January 1945. Mission briefing. Admiral Kusaka, Combined Fleet Operations, briefs Nakamura on I-401's next mission. "Operation Cherry Blossoms at night. You'll carry 3 Siren aircraft carrying biological weapons. Your target, Panama Canal locks. You'll launch your aircraft, destroy the locks, cripple American supply lines." Nakamura listens to the plan. It's desperate, suicidal. 1 submarine carrying 3 aircraft, traveling 5,000 miles to attack the most heavily defended strategic asset in the Western Hemisphere. "Sir, the Americans will detect I-401 within days of leaving port. Their submarine patrols, their sonobuoys, their radar coverage, we won't reach Panama." "Then you'll sacrifice yourselves trying. That's what warriors do." "Sir, we're not warriors anymore. We're targets. The Americans are hunting us with technology that makes courage irrelevant." Kusaka's face hardens. "Are you refusing orders?" I'm telling you the truth. Japanese submarines are being destroyed not because we're cowards, but because we're fighting with obsolete technology against an enemy who controls the ocean through science. We build magnificent submarines. They build sonar buoys that hear us coming from miles away. We train for years. They drop acoustic torpedoes that hunt us autonomously. We have courage. They have radar that sees through darkness. Then what do you suggest? Cancel the mission. Keep I-401 in Japanese waters. Use our submarines for defense, not suicide attacks. Accept that we've lost control of the Pacific and focus on surviving until what? Until we surrender? Nakamura doesn't answer. Because yes, that's exactly what he means. June 1945, Operation Barney. Nakamura is patrolling the Sea of Japan when his sonar operator reports something impossible. Sir, I'm hearing American submarines inside the Sea of Japan. That's impossible. Tsushima Strait is mined, 4 separate minefields. American submarines can't navigate through them. Sir, I'm hearing their engines. Definitely American fleet submarines. At least 3 distinct contacts. Nakamura checks the charts. Tsushima Strait is Japan's fortress. Thousands of mines laid in precise patterns. The minefields were designed to be impenetrable. American submarines shouldn't be able to enter. But Sato intercepts American radio traffic. 9 American submarines operating freely in the Sea of Japan. They penetrated the minefields using something called FM sonar, technology that detects underwater mines, maps their positions, identifies safe passages. Technology Japanese submarines don't have. They're hunting inside our own waters, Nakamura tells his XO. Waters we thought were completely safe. If American submarines can navigate through our minefields, then nowhere is secure. Over the next 2 weeks, American submarines sink 28 Japanese ships in the Sea of Japan. They operate with impunity, surface at night to charge batteries, submerge during day to attack shipping. Japanese Naval Command is paralyzed. They don't know how to respond to submarines operating in waters that should be impossible to reach. Nakamura knows. The Americans have technology that makes Japanese defenses irrelevant. Radar that sees surface targets beyond visual range, sonar that maps underwater obstacles, acoustic torpedoes that hunt autonomously, industrial capacity that replaces losses faster than combat can inflict them. We've lost, Nakamura tells his officers one night. Not because we're cowards, not because we lack skill. We've lost because the enemy possesses technological advantages we cannot overcome. The ocean belongs to them now. We're just waiting for official surrender. August 15, 1945. Emperor Hirohito announces Japan's surrender. Nakamura's I-401 is at sea when the announcement comes. His crew gathers in the control room, listening to the radio broadcast. The war situation has developed not necessarily to Japan's advantage. Some of the crew weeps. Others stand in stunned silence. Nakamura feels only relief. The killing will stop. His crew will survive. They'll surface, sail to an Allied port, surrender, and go home. Sir, his XO asks, what do we do now? We surface. We paint our submarine with surrender markings. We sail to the designated port, and we accept that we survived what killed so many others. August 29, 1945. I-401 surrenders to USS Segundo off Japan. Nakamura stands on I-401's deck as American sailors board. His submarine, the largest in the world, technological marvel, capable of striking cities 5,000 miles away, is now a trophy. American engineers swarm over her, taking photographs, measuring systems, testing equipment, learning her secrets. One American officer, Lieutenant Commander Stephen Johnson, speaks some Japanese. He asks Nakamura questions about the submarine's capabilities. Your boat is impressive, Johnson says. The engineering is magnificent. The range is extraordinary. Why didn't these submarines win the war for you? Nakamura considers the question. How to explain 4 years of gradual realization. How to describe the moment you understand that courage doesn't matter against superior technology. We built impressive submarines, Nakamura says finally. You built the technology that made them obsolete. We controlled ocean surface. You controlled everything beneath it. Our submarines were magnificent. Your sonar buoys, radar, acoustic torpedoes, they made magnificence irrelevant. Johnson nods slowly. I dropped sonobuoys on a Japanese submarine once, I-52, in the Atlantic. We tracked her for hours before attacking. The crew never knew we were there until the moment we struck. They fought well. But they had no defense against technology they didn't understand. Nakamura feels cold. I-52, his submarine, his crew. Cameo commanding because Nakamura was in the hospital. I was supposed to be aboard I-52, Nakamura says. Appendicitis kept me in Japan. Cameo died in my place. Then you understand what we developed, not just weapons, an entire system of ocean surveillance. We turned the Pacific into a grid where nothing could hide. Your submarines didn't lose because of poor tactics or cowardice. They lost because we controlled the information environment. Will you tell me how it worked? The sonobuoys, the acoustic torpedoes, the radar that saw through darkness? Johnson hesitates, then nods. Over the next hour, he explains, sonobuoys, small battery-powered hydrophones dropped from aircraft, listening to underwater sounds, transmitting to aircraft above. Acoustic torpedoes, autonomous weapons that tracked propeller noise without human guidance. Centimetric radar, surface detection, at ranges Japanese technology couldn't match. Industrial capacity, submarines built faster than combat could destroy them. Nakamura listens, absorbing information his Navy needed 3 years ago. We were fighting blind, he says. We thought we controlled the ocean. We didn't realize you'd created technology that made the ocean yours. It's not about ownership, Johnson replies. It's about asymmetry. You built impressive individual systems. We built integrated networks. Your submarines were better engineered. Our submarines had better support. You focused on quality. We focused on systems and quantity, both. Could we have developed these technologies? Technically, maybe. Industrially? No. You didn't have the manufacturing capacity, the supply chain, the radar factories, the sonar production. Even if Japanese engineers had invented sonobuoys, could your factories have built them by the thousands? Could your logistics have deployed them across the Pacific? Nakamura knows the answer. No. Japan's industrial capacity was always insufficient. The war was lost, not on battlefields, but in factories, shipyards, laboratories, places where America's advantages were decisive. September 1945, American occupation forces interviewed Japanese submarine commanders. Nakamura is interviewed by American Naval Intelligence. They want to understand Japanese submarine tactics, technology, strategic thinking. He tells them everything. Not because he's betraying Japan, the war is over. He tells them because maybe, somehow, speaking these truths will prevent future wars where technology gaps create slaughters. When did you realize Japan had lost the war? The American interrogator asks. June 23, 1944, Nakamura replies. The night I-52 was sunk. That's when I understood that we were facing technology we couldn't counter. Your sonobuoys, your acoustic torpedoes, your radar. Every advantage we thought we had, stealth, range, training, was negated by American technology. Did you report this to your superiors? I tried. They didn't want to hear it. Admitting technological inferiority would mean admitting the war was unwinnable. So they kept sending submarines on suicide missions, hoping courage would overcome superior weapons. How many submarines did Japan lose to American anti-submarine technology? I don't know exact numbers, but of the 130-plus submarines we had at war's start, maybe 20 survived surrender. The rest were destroyed by weapons and detection systems we couldn't defend against. The interrogator makes notes. What lessons would you want Japanese military planners to learn from this? Nakamura thinks carefully. Technology matters more than courage. Industrial capacity matters more than individual quality. Information matters more than training. We built the world's largest submarines, submarines that could circle the globe and carry aircraft to strike cities. But America built sonar buoys that cost a few $100s each and made our submarines visible. That asymmetry, expensive, impressive systems defeated by cheap, ubiquitous technology, that's the lesson. Do you think Japan will rebuild its submarine force? If we do, we'll build them with American technology, because that's what works. That's the lesson we learned by dying in the dark, hunted by sounds we couldn't hear, and tracked by devices we never saw. 1946. Nakamura returns to civilian life. He takes a position at Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. His job? Learning from American technology, understanding how the Allies won the war through industrial and technological superiority. He visits American factories, sees assembly lines producing radar sets by the thousands, watches sonar equipment roll off production lines, tours shipyards where submarines were built using modular components manufactured across dozens of states. The scale overwhelms him. Japan was never fighting America. Japan was fighting American industry. One night, he writes a letter to the families of I-52's crew, Kamio, Tanaka, 92 others who died in the Atlantic. Your loved ones died fighting an enemy they couldn't see, tracked by technology they didn't understand, killed by weapons they had no defense against. They died with courage and skill. But courage and skill were not enough against an enemy who controlled the ocean through technological superiority. I survived by random chance. Appendicitis kept me off I-52. If not for that, I would have died with them, equally brave and equally helpless. The lesson of their sacrifice: technology determines victory in modern war, not courage, not training, technology. That's the lesson Japan must learn. That's why they did not die in vain. 1952, Korean War. The newly formed Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force recruits Nakamura as an advisor. They're building Japan's first post-war submarines, American-designed, American-trained. Nakamura teaches young Japanese submariners the lessons he learned from 1941 to 1945. The ocean doesn't belong to anyone, he tells them. It belongs to whoever controls the technology to detect, track, and destroy enemies beneath the surface. In World War II, we thought size and range mattered. They didn't. Detection technology mattered. We built submarines that could travel 20,000 miles. Americans built sonar buoys that could hear us from 20 miles away. We lost because we focused on the wrong capabilities. Sir, one young officer asks, if we're using American technology now, does that mean we've accepted American superiority? It means we've accepted reality, Nakamura replies. America won the submarine war through technology and industrial capacity. If we're to defend Japan, we need equivalent technology, not because American systems are inherently superior, though they are, but because modern submarine warfare requires integrated networks of detection, communication, and weapons. You can't fight that with individual impressive submarines. You need systems. The lessons spread through Japan's post-war military and industrial development. Sony develops miniaturized electronics, learning from American radar technology. Toyota implements quality control, learning from American industrial processes. Japanese shipyards build submarines incorporating American sonar, learning from the systems that hunted them. The submarines that killed I-52, I-26, I-401, and dozens of others become blueprints for Japanese defense. 1964. Nakamura attends a reunion of submarine veterans. 20 surviving Japanese submarine commanders gather in Tokyo, men who survived a war that killed 80% of their colleagues. They share stories, some funny. The time a submarine surfaced in the middle of an American convoy and escaped through sheer luck. Some tragic, entire crews lost when acoustically tracked by American forces. One veteran, Commander Hashimoto, tells about I-58 sinking the USS Indianapolis. "We thought that was triumph," he says. "We sank an American cruiser. But within days, American forces were hunting I-58 with technology we couldn't evade. We barely escaped. That's when I realized individual victories didn't matter. The Americans controlled the ocean through systems, not battles." Nakamura shares his story. I-52, Sonar Buoys. The gradual realization that Japanese submarines were being systematically eliminated by technology they couldn't counter. "We were good submariners," he says, "well-trained, brave, operating magnificent vessels. None of that mattered against an enemy who could hear us when we thought we were silent, see us when we thought we were invisible, track us when we thought we were safe." Do you think, Hashimoto asks, that Japan could have developed equivalent technology if we'd focused on it earlier? Technically, maybe, industrially? No. Our factories couldn't produce radar sets in quantity. Our electronics industry couldn't miniaturize components. Our logistics couldn't deploy sonar buoys across the Pacific. Even if Japanese engineers had invented sonobuoys in 1942, we couldn't have built and deployed thousands of them. America could. That industrial asymmetry, that's what killed us. Another veteran, Commander Ariazumi's former XO, adds, "The psychological impact was worse than the physical losses. Knowing you're being hunted by invisible forces. Knowing every time you surface, you're visible on radar screens hundreds of miles away. Knowing that even submerged sonar buoys track your movement. It destroyed our confidence. We went from believing we controlled the ocean to understanding we were prey." Nakamura nods. That's the lesson we carried into post-war Japan. Technology determines outcomes. Industrial capacity determines technology. We rebuilt Japan by accepting this truth. Sony, Toyota, Mitsubishi all learned from our defeat. Build technology, not just individual impressive products. Build systems, not just components. Build industrial capacity, not just engineering brilliance. The veterans raise glasses in toast to the 80% who didn't survive, to the lessons learned through defeat, to the Japan that rose from those lessons. 1991. Nakamura, 79 years old, gives his final lecture. Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force Academy. 200 young submarine officers attend. Nakamura is frail now, but his voice is strong as he describes what it felt like to realize the ocean was no longer his. "I stood in I-52's control room, listening to sounds that shouldn't exist, mechanical transmissions from objects floating on the surface, tracking me, hunting me, and I realized we'd lost. Not just the battle, the war. Because the enemy possessed technology we couldn't match, deployed through industrial capacity we couldn't comprehend." That realization, that's what I want you to carry forward. Modern submarine warfare isn't about courage or skill. It's about integrated systems, detection networks, communications infrastructure, industrial capacity to maintain and replace assets. You're operating submarines today that incorporate lessons we learned by dying. American sonar technology, acoustic tracking systems, network-centric warfare. The submarines that killed my friends in World War II taught us how to build the submarines you're commanding today. That's how defeat becomes victory, by learning, adapting, accepting reality. The ocean doesn't belong to anyone. It belongs to whoever controls the technology to master it. In 1941, we thought we controlled the Pacific. By 1945, we understood we'd never controlled anything. America had built the technology that mattered. Learn from that. Don't build impressive individual systems. Build networks. Don't focus on quality alone. Combine quality with quantity. Don't assume courage overcomes technology. It doesn't. Technology, properly deployed through industrial capacity, determines outcomes. That's the lesson my friends died teaching. That's the lesson Japan learned rebuilding from defeat. That's the lesson you must carry forward. The young officers applaud. Some understand. Some don't yet. They will. Nakamura dies 3 months later. His funeral is attended by American naval officers who once hunted Japanese submarines. They salute a warrior who learned the hardest lesson, that skill and courage aren't enough against superior technology, and taught that lesson to generations who followed. His tombstone carries an inscription he requested. He learned the ocean belonged to those who controlled the technology to master it. He taught Japan that lesson. May we never forget. The Sonar Buoys that tracked I-52 to her death are now museum pieces. The technology evolved into modern acoustic surveillance systems that patrol oceans worldwide. The acoustic torpedoes that hunted Japanese submarines are ancestors of weapons carried by every modern navy. The radar that saw through darkness evolved into systems that track everything on the ocean surface in real time. The lessons Nakamura learned dying in the dark, hunted by invisible forces, those lessons shaped post-war Japan and modern submarine warfare globally. The invisible hunter that killed his friends and almost killed him became the blueprint for the maritime defense forces that protect Japan today. That's how defeat becomes victory, by learning, by adapting, by accepting that technology and industrial capacity determine outcomes in modern war. The ocean belonged to those who controlled the technology to master it. Nakamura survived to understand that lesson. He dedicated his life to teaching it, and Japan's rise from defeat to technological leader proves he succeeded. The invisible hunter is now Japan's ally. The technology that killed I-52 now protects Japanese waters. That's the legacy of the men who died learning the ocean was no longer theirs, and the man who survived to tell their story.